Hello everybody, it's Mike Patterson from White Turtle Adventures. Welcome back to the van. So I've been doing this little series to try to help people to get over some of the misinformation out there about living in a van, living in a tiny house, or living in whatever it is that you're going to choose to live in that's not a normal house or apartment. Now, I talked about the last session about what it's like to live in a tinier space when it comes to heating and to air conditioning. And like I said, and I admit 100%, I don't live in a hot climate, so air conditioning for me is not a big thing. What I've done in here to cool off the van is I have a side window. I have a vent that is powered at the back so I can suck air in through that window. And I also have screens for up here, and I have a screen for my rear door. That's the extent that I have for cooling the van off or for changing the air in the van. Does it work? It actually works very well. Fortunately, living in southern Alberta and living close to the mountains, our nights are pretty darn cool. So I don't need the air conditioning and I don't need all that extra stuff. It works well for me. If you live somewhere where it's hot, or you're planning on going someplace where it's hot, you're going to have to fight that battle. How do you do it? What can you do? Well, honestly, the best thing to do, in my opinion, but again, this is from somebody who doesn't deal with the heat, would be to invest in a rooftop air conditioner. They make them for RVs, they make them for trailers, they make them for all different vehicles. From RVs, I meant vans and motorhomes. They make them for all different units that you could easily mount on the roof, and you can go from there. Now, the problem with that is you need power. That's going to, again, be something that you're going to have to determine. When it's hot out, maybe you're going to have plug-in electricity. You're going to have to work through that. But for heat, I think I got the heat thing pretty well nailed down. Living in southern Alberta, Canada, guess what? It gets cold, and it gets cold a lot. So one of the first things I did for my van, because I'm not in it 24/7, 365, I do not have a full water system in here. For the sink, I have 2 tanks. One tank is fresh water, one tank is waste. Comes up, it goes into the sink, and it goes into the waste. That's it. If I'm not in the van and it's cold outside, all I have to do is take out those tanks, dump them, and it's winterized. My bathroom, I have a porta potty, and to flush it, I use RV antifreeze. Now, during the summer, I use water or a diluted RV antifreeze in the summer, but in the wintertime, I keep RV antifreeze in it. When I use it, I use that to flush, and I'm fine. So that's the first thing I did for the heating. I don't need to heat this 24/7. If I'm not in it, I don't need to heat it. But when I am in it, I have several different heating systems. My first one is I have an S-bar heater that is built in that takes the fuel from the gas tank, and it's a gas heater, not the diesel. It brings it up, it burns it, it exhausts it outside, and then I have, just like in a house, I have a cold air return, and I have a heat vent. Pretty simple, and it works wonderful, and it is powerful. If it is 30 below outside and haven't been driving this van for a while, 15 minutes with that thing running and the inside of this van is hot, so it works well. The problem with it is it can be, depending upon your level of acceptable noise, it can be considered to be loud. I don't find it loud. I've had RV furnaces, those were loud. The rattling, the blowing, the noise, they were bad. So that's my first heating system. Now, because I go out to the mountains and because I know there's a chance that I will get A, stuck, B, a snowstorm will come in so I can't get back home, or C, the weather may change on me, I have different backup heating systems as well. So along with the S-bar heater, I have a 112 or 110 volt plug-in electric heater. It plugs into the plug-in back there, but I have to have the van plugged into shore power at the time. Many times in the wintertime when I'm driving, I'll try to find campgrounds with electricity if I want to spend a night in a campground, and I'll plug it in and I use that to run overnight. It's a lot quieter than the S-bar, and I'm using somebody else's power. If I don't have power, my other backup is a catalytic heater. Now, you're going to hear good and bad about catalytic heaters. The bad is they kill everybody that uses them. Well, sorry, I'm still alive. The good is they don't use any electricity other than the propane. Now, be careful. If you're building a van, if you're using this in a van, you're going to want to have a smoke detector and you're going to want to have a carbon monoxide detector. If you have those two things and you keep your windows cracked open, the catalytic heater is fine. For me, my decision about a catalytic heater is this. It's an emergency backup heat source. If I need to use it, I'm going to use it while I'm awake, and when I go to sleep, I will let the van cool down naturally. As the van cools down, if it gets to a point where I'm too cold, then what I will do is I will wake up, turn the catalytic heater on, let the van warm up, shut it off, and go back to bed. Not that I don't trust it, but I'm nervous about it. I know that they work fine. If you crack your windows a little bit, if you open the vent just a little bit, the air will be fine and you won't have an issue. I'm more concerned about something getting knocked onto the front of it and starting a fire than I am about the carbon monoxide. Now, I know if I set it over here, there should never be a chance that stuff will hit it from the bed, but it just worries me that I may kick off a blanket and for some reason it may touch it. So that's been my backup heat source, which works wonderful. When I had my truck camper, it actually got me through a couple really bad nights that I was out. I only had my 12 volt power plus the RV heater, and my truck camper was pretty warm, but in a couple nights I was out there in some nasty winds and it was 30 below, and without that catalytic heater I was cool. With the catalytic heater I was actually tropically warm, and it was great, and it managed to keep the truck camper warm enough during the day that I didn't have to run the RV heater all the time. So if you're looking for heat sources, I suggest that you look into it very well. I did a lot of research on mine. My two options that I came down to was I could put an RV furnace in here, which they're safe, they're very efficient, but they are noisy, and they do use a little bit more electricity than what I went with. And then the other option that I thought was suitable was the S-bar heaters. And there's many different ones out there. They come over from Europe. They're a contained unit. There's two basic types. One burns propane, one burns gas. The propane one burns diesel, one burns gas, no propane. And the diesel one works just as good, but you need, in my opinion, be driving a diesel vehicle. There are containers you can get, and I know a number of people who have bought them from China. The whole units, they come with a container. You fill that up with diesel, you run a line to the heater, and it works really, really well. The issue I had, and the issue that concerned me at the time, and it still sort of does, is I don't know enough places to get diesel when I'm out in the mountains. It's hard enough in some places to find places that are open that sell gas. So I figured one heat source using one type of fuel was much better than me having to go buy a couple. That's the other reason I discounted the RV furnace. I didn't want to have within my vehicle another propane system that I was drawing it from a tank to this. I could have added more stuff because of it, but I didn't want all that extra stuff mixed into the van. So before you get into all of this, think carefully. One side note. There are some really cool things out there for heating tiny spaces. One of them is little wood stoves. Now, I wanted one so bad for my van, but I didn't find a supplier until after I had done the van conversion. It really upset me. I really wanted one. They're really cute. It's called, I think it's the mini cubic fridge was the one that I looked at. It has the little chimney that goes up from it, and it's tiny. It would sit right about here, and you can put wood in it. Now, I wanted one so badly, but a lot of people who have them gave me warnings, and they says, first, they work wonderfully, but you're always putting stuff in to burn. So if you don't always have stuff to burn, that can be a problem. That was one thing to consider. The other thing that one gentleman told me was, as well as they work, they always have to be clean. So if you're going to be running it a lot, you're going to be cleaning it a lot. Now, it may not be a big deal for you, but it is something else to consider. I decided if I ever happen to sell this and to buy another one to convert, that'll be the first thing that I put in it, is my little wood stove. Or if I buy a bus to live in or something like that, I'll put a little wood stove in it, because I think they're really nifty. I like the fact that you can burn a lot of stuff in them. It doesn't necessarily have to be wood. You can burn in it pellets for stoves. You can burn in it different pre-made fire sticks and stuff like that. But for right now, I'll do with my system that I have. So have a wonderful day. Take care. I hope you get out to enjoy and explore, and we'll talk to you soon.